Hello, everyone, and welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC. Thank you so much for being with us today, this Monday. We're really excited for the program today. Give me just a second to make sure those that need Spanish interpretation can get access to that line. Buenas tardes, muchísimas gracias por estar aquí con SOC en 3en.com SOC. Como siempre, ustedes pueden escuchar esta información a través de nuestra línea de interpretación y el número que hay que marcar aparece aquí en la pantalla. 646-749-3122 y el código para entrar es 779-328-221. I also just want to remind folks that there is always access to these videos on our Facebook page and our YouTube page. So even if you aren't watching right at 3, we are happy to have you watch at any other time on our Facebook or YouTube page. I also would love to see who's watching with us today. So if you're here, go ahead and say hi in the comments, ask questions throughout the time today. This is going to be a really interesting topic, talking about these dockless scooters that you've all been seeing around the city. So we're looking forward to the conversation. But yeah, give us a hello, give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, whatever it may be. We would love to see that you're here. And I see that Trine already said hello. Buenas tardes, Trine, ¿cómo está? Y también tenemos a Diana. Hi, Diana. Thanks for being here, you too. But yeah, again, just keep asking questions. Check the comment section throughout the time for links and other information. And I will go ahead and introduce our guest then. We have Kate Riordan with us today. She is the Associate Transportation Planner at the City of Milwaukee Department of Public Works. And we're really looking forward to talking about these dockless scooters today. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on. So yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of curiosity about, how things are going with these scooters. We know that there was another study done in 2019. So I'm sure people are interested to hear what are the differences, what were some of the results, and any other information you have for us. So I'll go ahead and let you share your screen and you can just take it away.
Yeah,
actually, will you introduce yourselves first? I'm so sorry.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. Kate Riordan. I'm with the Department of Public Works at the City of Milwaukee. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm a transportation planner, been with the city for about 2.5 years. And I manage a number of different projects, 2 of which you'll be hearing about today. I'm also going to talk a little bit about our bike share expansion project that we have. So, we're really trying to provide people with all different types of options to move around our great city. So I'll go ahead and share my presentation.
And as you're getting that shared, I'll just let you know that throughout the presentation, if there's any questions or comments that pop up, I'll just unmute myself and ask you them while you present, okay?
Great, thanks so much.
All right.
Everything look good?
Yep, it looks great.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk with you all today about these 2 really exciting projects that we have going on. I know dockless scooters, like you said, are all over the city, so you've probably seen them. And hopefully you'll be seeing some more Bublr Bikes in your neighborhood too coming up. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our expansion project, and then I'll go into our dockless scooter pilot study, and I'll touch on what we did in 2019 and then what's going on now. Excuse me. So first of all, some of you might be wondering, you've seen Bublr Bikes share stations maybe around downtown. We've got one at Walker Square Park. We had one at the 16th Street Community Health Center at Cesar Chavez and Washington, which was away and now it's back. So exciting to have that back. So you might be wondering, I thought Bublr was, totally different than the city. What does the city have to do with Bublr? Well, we do have a great relationship with Bublr Bikes. So Bublr is a nonprofit. They operate the bike share system. So they're, setting prices, doing programming, rebalancing bikes, helping us figure out where to put new stations. And sometimes they also get sponsorship for stations. So they'll put in new stations also. But us at the City of Milwaukee, We purchase stations for Bublr Bikes in order to support different transportation options throughout the city. So one big thing that we do is pursue federal grants so that we can purchase and install stations and purchase more bikes. These federal grants give us a good opportunity to purchase a lot of stations all at once, and they can be kind of expensive. So it's great when we are able to secure these grants. So I have been managing one of these grants. It's a federal grant. It's called CMAQ, which stands for Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement Program, which is a mouthful, and that's why we call it CMAQ. But the main purpose of this grant program is to improve air quality. Only certain parts of the state are eligible to receive CMAQ funding, and we in Milwaukee are one of them. So we received this grant to install 26 new stations, and some exciting new things are happening with this expansion that we're doing this year. One of the things is that we'll be getting some new station types. So the picture that you see here is the one that you've probably seen throughout the city. It's a blue station. They're docked. They're all together, and they've got a kiosk. Something exciting that the vendor that makes these stations, B-Cycle, something new that they've been working on is a single dock station. They're called their 3.0 stations. We're going to still be putting them in clusters, kind of like the stations that you see out there now. But in the future, we might be able to just purchase a couple of those docks and put them in places so we don't need as much room as we do with these typical stations. So you might just see on the corner in a commercial district, just a 3-station bike share station. So it allows us to really expand in more ways. But these 26 new stations that we'll be doing will be bigger stations. Some of them will be similar to what you've seen out there. The new ones don't require us to connect to electricity. So it gives us a lot more flexibility also. So look forward to that with this new expansion. We will also be purchasing somewhere around 250 bikes and about 200 e-bikes, which is new and exciting. E-bikes, if you've never ridden one, they're super fun. They are pedal assist, which means that you do need to pedal in order to trigger the electronic bicycling. So you are still pedaling, but it makes things like hills and windy days so much better. And I've ridden an e-bike in Madison on their bike share system. Their whole system is e-bike. So if you get out to Madison, you can try them out. It's super fun, makes you sad when you go home and ride your own personal bike and you have to pedal hard up those hills again. So that's something we're very excited about to purchase and put into the system this year. Also, these 26 new stations give us the opportunity to expand into new neighborhoods. I'll show a map of where we're going to be installing the stations. We're really excited about this because you might know right now a lot of our stations are downtown. We have been able to expand into some neighborhoods, but we just haven't been able to put in that many new stations all at once like we're doing with this grant. So it's pretty exciting. An installation is expected in late summer, which will be coming up sooner than what we expect, or early fall. It will probably be a phased installation. Since some of the stations we're gonna have to put in new concrete, and some we'll just be able to put in on the sidewalk as is. So here's a map. I'll show a closer in version of the map too, but I did just wanna show this so that you can get an idea of how far out we're able to expand with this new bike share project. So the light blue dots are the existing bike share stations, and you can see that a lot of them right now are concentrated on the east side near the lake, kind of in the middle of the city, and we'll really be able to expand further west with this bike share expansion. So the dark blue dots with numbers on them, that's where the new stations are going to be. So here's that same map, just a little bit more close up so you can see just how much we're expanding and how we're getting out into the neighborhoods with it. And then here's the south side. The stations we'll be putting in on the south side. So starting all the way out at number 17 on the left side of the screen, or on the west side, that's near the Urban Ecology Center at Menominee Valley. That provides access to the Hank Aaron State Trail. It's close to Miller Park, or the baseball stadium, American Family Field, I guess. So if you want to ride to the station, you could pick up a bike there and ride it to the station that's at the baseball field. Number 18 is at Mitchell Park by the domes. 19 is at Clark Square. 21 is around 14th and National. 22 is around 9th and National. 23 is 8th and Greenfield. 26 is by the library on Mitchell Street. And then 25 is where at Kinnickinnick and First and Mitchell, where the bus station is, or where there's a lot of different bus stops. 2A, that red dot there, that's an alternate station. Right now, we don't expect to install a station there, but it might be a good spot for a future station if we're able to put another one in outside of this grant project.
Was there just a quick question, was there a particular reason why they're more concentrated towards National Avenue?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you're planning new bike share stations, you want to make sure that the stations are close enough together so you don't have stations that are just kind of far off on their own. If they end up being far off on their own, it's hard for people to connect to other stations. So an example I like to give, or a comparison, is, let's say we just wanted to install station number 18, which is by Mitchell Park. Let's say instead of a station that was a bus stop, and that bus stop didn't stop until you got to downtown, where there were more bus stops. That wouldn't be a very useful bus stop for many people. Only people who live really close there and who are going downtown would be able to use that bus stop. So we want to have enough stations in between our existing stations and our new stations to make sure they're useful for a lot of people. It can be a little bit difficult to imagine that, but that's best practice in installing stations. So that's one of the reasons why you'll see them clustered. And so we don't want to go too far south or too far west without building out that system before we reach further out destinations.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, great. And so that's kind of all I've got on the expansion. I'm happy to answer some more questions, but I did want to put in a plug for this event that Bublr is holding. I think there's actually only 2 open spots, but they're going to be holding more classes like this. If you want to learn how to use a Bublr, the Bublr Bikes, and even just learn a little bit more about biking in general, Bublr and the Wisconsin Bike Fed are holding a class on Wednesday, July 14th from 6 to 7:15 p.m. at Walker Square Park. You'll get a free helmet and a free 30-day pass, which is pretty exciting. And so the link to sign up is there at the bottom. I can put that in the chat after I'm done with my presentation too, so people can check that out. But also, if you're not able to make that, but you want to learn more, just follow Bublr on Facebook, and they'll post more about classes that they're doing. But it's a really cool opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about biking and how to use Bublr. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to talking about our Dockless Scooter pilot study now. But feel free to ask more questions about bike share if you want to learn more about that. So we started Dockless Scooters in 2019 with a pilot study. So a pilot study basically means it's a short-term program where we learn a little bit more about how it functions and decide how we want to proceed in the future. So in 2019, it started in late July and went through November. We had 3 goals, which were to increase transportation options, expand access to transportation, and evaluate the impacts of scooters on the public right-of-way. So this map you see here shows the different distribution zones that we had. So in each of these zones, the 3 companies that we had in 2019, which were Lime, Bird, and Spin, they were required to deploy a certain number of scooters in each of these. So this is the total numbers for all 3 scooter companies. In zone 1, there could be up to 850. In zone 2, there could be up to 250 or a minimum of 250, and same for zone 3. So one thing you might notice here is these zones are really large. So 250 scooters in zone 3 to cover all of that. That really didn't get many scooters and didn't get a lot of usage in those zones. So just a side note, and you'll see when I talk about what we're doing this year, how we changed that. So some results from the 2019 pilot study, we had really high ridership. So over those about 4 months, we had 350,000 total rides, about 2,700 rides per day, and then 3.6 rides per vehicle per day. And that means about how many times people are using one particular scooter. And this is a statistic that Dockless Scooter companies will use to evaluate how well the program is doing. And so 3 to 3.5 is usually pretty good. So having an average of 3.6 per day is really good. I also say that, this went from July to September. There were a lot of rides in July and August, or not September, November. So a lot of rides in July, August, and then as might be expected in September and in the fall, rides started dropping down. So the average rides per day was probably a lot higher in July and August. So we did a survey that we started at the end of September that went through the end of the year. We had some really positive survey results and some good information that we got. So 72% of the trips are non-recreational. So a lot of people will say, people are just using these scooters just for fun. And a lot of people are using them for fun. But 72% of the people who responded to our survey said, no, I was using it to get to a restaurant, get to a friend's house, get to some kind of place, using it for transportation. 44% of respondents replaced a car trip. So they either, if they hadn't taken a scooter, they would have driven their own car, or they would have used rideshare like Lyft or Uber. And 73% of the people who took our survey thought that scooters should be allowed in some format moving forward. Sidewalk riding was the most common concern, both through the survey we did, but then also some feedback that we got from residents emailing us or emailing their alders. So we implemented some things this year to address that issue. We also did intersection observations. DPW staff went out to different intersections and just observed how many people were riding in the street and how many people were riding on the sidewalk. And we saw about 83% of people riding in the street, 17% on the sidewalk. And that did improve the earlier counts that we did in observations. We saw more people on the sidewalk, and then later there were fewer people on the sidewalk. So we think that behavior improved throughout the pilot study. So now I'll bring us to 2021. We recommended doing a second pilot study, so a second kind of short-term limited program to see what kinds of regulations would work best. And moving forward, we hope that after this, if we do think that scooters are successful in Milwaukee, we do hope to have some kind of permanent permit program, so we don't have to continually renew and do new pilot studies and new terms and conditions and new things with the program every year. So we have 3 companies, again, the same 3 companies, Bird, Lime, and Spin. We did have more apply to our program, but Bird, Lime, and Spin had the best proposals. They are allowed up to 1,000 scooters each. I will say right now that none of the companies have gotten up to 1,000 scooters yet. One is pretty close, but they all have not put out that many yet. We wanted a wider distribution throughout the city. So if you remember from that previous map, we had those 3 large zones. So we split the city up into 7 zones this time. Excuse me. In order to encourage more riding throughout the city and more trips throughout the city instead of just in downtown and on the east side. So we have zone 1, which is mostly downtown, and then zones 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, which are kind of the surrounding neighborhoods. And then zone 7 is the remainder of the city. So the scooter companies can have up to 100 scooters in zone 1, and then 160 in the other zones. And then an additional 100 that can be anywhere. So some things that we changed in this pilot study in order to address some of the concerns from 2019 are we have monthly safety events that we require the scooter companies to have some kind of event where they're inviting people to learn how to ride. Most of them are also doing helmet distributions. So they're required to do this once per month. We're also requiring them to do sidewalk riding outreach each month. And this can, each operator, each company is doing this a little bit differently, but basically they go to areas where people have noted that there's a lot of sidewalk riding, and they go and talk to people about making sure that they are riding in the street and not on the sidewalk. All of the companies have also committed to using technology on their scooters that will detect sidewalk riding. They all use slightly different technology, and they're all in various forms of deployment right now. So I can say that Bird does not have this detection technology right now. They do hope to have it prior to the end of the pilot study. But Spin and Lime do have something on their scooters right now that can detect if people are riding on the sidewalk and will give some feedback to the riders. We also have a consultant that we've hired to track sidewalk riding. So they're actually doing this right now. They're observing at different intersections where there's high scooter usage and tracking how many people are on the sidewalk and how many people are on the street, just like DPW staff did in 2019. So this count period will go through July 9th, and they will get back to us and let us know what kind of results they saw. And based on that, we can either implement some consequences to the operators, the scooter companies, or we can ask them to start some new programs to really let people know that they shouldn't be riding on the sidewalk. Another thing we're going to be doing is these marked parking corrals. So we don't have these out right now, but they're basically going to be painted areas either on the sidewalk or in no parking zones on the street where people are encouraged to park their scooters. Right now, you'll probably notice that people can park them wherever, and sometimes that causes some issues. So this will help deter that by giving people a spot to park their scooters. And then lastly will be each scooter company is going to be having some adaptive scooters. So these are scooters that people with disabilities or people who just don't feel comfortable standing on a typical kick scooter like they have right now. These are scooters that people with disabilities will be able to use. So they're all formulating plans right now, but this will be something that will roll out before the end of the program. So now just some general information about riding scooters, how to ride scooters, how not to ride scooters or park them. So we have this graphic on our website, which our website will be linked on the last slide. So just on the left, it shows you some things that we do want people to do when they're riding scooters. If you're on the sidewalk, you should walk your scooter, don't ride it. We recommend that people wear helmets. It's not a requirement. Ride in the bike lane or in the vehicle lane. Park scooters with care on the sidewalk by the curb, not blocking the path of people trying to walk by. So some things you don't do: riding scooters on the sidewalk, parking scooters in a bike or vehicle lane, or parking scooters on the sidewalk path. So just a little bit more about scooters and like how to park a scooter. So I just like to tell people, think about who else might be using the sidewalk. Think about somebody who's in a wheelchair. Think about somebody pushing a stroller. Could they get by the way that you've parked your scooter? So you don't want a scooter all the way across the sidewalk. You don't want it blocking the curb ramp that's at the corner, because then somebody's not going to be able to push their stroller or their wheelchair or cart up there. And you definitely don't want your scooter lying down like this picture on the left. What you do want to do is make sure you're leaving at least 5 feet of accessible space on the sidewalk. Don't block those curb ramps. Don't block driveways, alleys, or bus stops. Just, when you're parking your scooter, think about who else is using the sidewalk and how they need to get through. If you have any issues with scooters that you want to report, let's say there's somebody has parked a scooter that's blocking the sidewalk, the best way and the fastest way to report those issues is to contact the scooter companies. There's 3 ways you can get their information. One is by visiting milwaukee.gov/scooter operators. All of their contact info is there. You can call them or you can email them. You can call 286-CITY and select the menu option to report an issue with Dockless scooters. Or if you use the Milwaukee Mobile Action app, there's Dockless scooter issues on the home screen. And if you don't have an immediate issue, but you just want to provide some feedback on the program, if you like it, if you don't like it, if you think we should do something differently, you can contact me. My email's there. It's kriord@milwaukee.gov. And so that's the end of my formal presentation. The 2 websites to learn more about these programs are milwaukee.gov/bike share expansion and milwaukee.gov/dockless scooters. And there's my contact information there. You can send me an email if you've got questions. Give me a call on my work cell. I'd be happy to talk more about either of these programs with you.
Awesome. Thank you so very much. That was really interesting, and we're excited to see how I can continue expanding and hopefully be more long-term for people. Is there any way that people can apply for discounts or anything like that if they're, for example, people who might be on food share or something like that?
Yeah, so both Bublr and all of the scooter companies provide discounts if you're on food share, or they have the scooter companies have other qualifying programs that you can get discounted access to the scooters. Bublr's for food share recipients is like one of the best deals. I think it's like $5 for the whole year. Don't quote me on that because maybe it's different, but I know it's a really good deal. If you go to their website, I think it's bublerbikes.org. I can find that out.
I shared it in the comments.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Already on it. So they've got information on there on how to sign up for their Bublr Access program. And then for all of the scooter companies on our website, milwaukee.gov/dockless scooters, there's a button to click for each of the companies to sign up for their programs.
Awesome. That's great information. And then is the city doing any more, being any more vigilant, I guess, in terms of potholes and other things like that, given that they're trying to reduce the amount of people that are on sidewalks? Some people might prefer sidewalks, knowing how some of the streets are in the city, especially in the areas that they're expanding where they're putting the scooters.
Yeah, that is a really great question. We don't have any system in place right now to figure out where more potholes are. I personally I love using the Milwaukee Mobile Action app, even as a city employee. Sometimes I find it gets faster service than me emailing somebody. So report those potholes, they get fixed pretty quickly. One thing that I didn't mention with the scooters is we are charging 15 cents per trip. And that funding that we get so the scooter companies have to pay us 15 cents per trip that people take. And that funding has to be tied to the program. So we definitely are looking into what kinds of street improvements can we make, because the people riding the scooters are the ones who are providing us with this funding, and we should be making improvements to the streets so that they do have a better experience riding in the street.
Yeah, definitely. And then can you just let us know what for example, a police officer might have the right to ticket you if you're riding on the sidewalk, or how would that work if you aren't following the rules of the line?
Yeah.
Or the spin or the bird.
Yeah, so when we started the 2019 pilot study, our city code was updated to make it illegal to ride scooters on the sidewalk. It's in the same part of the code that riding bikes on the sidewalk is in, so it's in there. So you could get a ticket from a police officer if they see you. I know that they really want to take an educational approach first. They don't want to go right to, writing somebody a ticket. So most likely they'll tell you, you shouldn't be riding on the sidewalk. You should be riding on the street before you get a ticket. So you should just get a warning first.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I don't see any other comments in the comment section or questions in the comment section. So we're very thankful for your time. This is great info for people. And hopefully we'll continue reducing the amount of cars that are out there for the summer at least. Or into November even.
Yeah. Yes. Thanks so much for having me.
Have a great rest of your day. Thanks again.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Very thankful for all of that awesome information. Again, all of the links to the websites and other information are in the comment section. So feel free to explore that to make sure you can see more information and any updates that may come regarding the Dockless scooters and the Bublr Bikes. And go sign up and get some exercise and feel the wind in your face. And then, of course, remember not to leave them laying out on the sidewalk. We don't want anyone to get hurt or have difficulty having access to the sidewalks. And don't leave them in people's driveways, because that can be annoying too. But very cool thing that the city is doing. I am going to just share the survey promo to say goodbye for the day, and then we will be on with you all tomorrow. So thanks for spending this time with us, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Has this live forum been informative and useful to you? What part of the forum could be improved or changed to make it better? Please take a quick survey that's located in the comments section so that we can keep 3 o'clock with SOC going for residents. Thank you for tuning in.